person that should be here and is not. And it's very sad, and that's Renata. Renata Renata, as most of you know, is now in the final stages of Alzheimer's and is meeting its challenges courageously, but it's a deadly disease and it's leaving its mark rather savagely. She made an early contribution which some of you may not know, and indeed it may be that none of this would be happening but for this early contribution. It occurred in 1960 in Toronto. Renata and I had returned to Toronto from 2 years with the Institute of Commonwealth Studies in England, and then we bought a house. We were totally happy and settled, and that seemed it. But at a dinner party one evening, the guest of honor was Sir Alexander Carr Saunders, who had been the eminent head of the London School of Economics and who had also served on committees that had selected, recommended staff for different African universities. And so he asked around the table of the number of people there who had been Canadians who'd gone overseas, what, of all the places you've served in, where would you most like to work? Where would you like to settle? And people gave appropriate answers, and I gave a particularly sort of mundane answer and said, well, I like it here in Toronto. And nodding vigorously towards the associate dean. And when Renata heard that, she intervened spontaneously and said, nonsense, Cran, you know you'd go back to Africa in a shot if you had the chance. And then the party moved on. And the next day, up into my office came Sir Alexander Carr Saunders and said, well, now is what your wife said true? Would you be interested in going back to Africa? And I said, well, yes, it is true, but the opportunity is not there at the moment, and I certainly am also happy here at Toronto. He said, I've been appointed the chair of a committee that's been asked by President Julius Nyerere to recommend someone to be the first principal at the college, which by that time had a statute and had a senior administrator and had a site, and that was it. And he said, would you like to be considered for appointment to that position? And I said truthfully, both counts, yes, I would, but that I saw many reasons why there would be other stronger candidates. And the net result was that he told me that he was the chairman of this committee that Nereri had asked to nominate someone, and if I would be so kind as to give him the CV, he would forward it in. Well, I was so kind, and off it went. And it's quite possible that had Rodin not intervened, he would never have realized that he had a blossoming Africanist on his hands that was just waiting to jump at it. And in any case, things moved very quickly from then on. I was flown over first to London for interviews, and then to Dar es Salaam for interviews. And I understand that the only advice, guidelines that Nereri gave to this committee of predominantly Brits, in fact all Brits, was that he felt there were 2 or 3 points. The first principle need not be an Englishman. And that he would be better probably if he were a young man. And the third. And so as I can imagine, Carl Saunders was a shrewd British exponent of British influence in the universities around the whole empire. And I can imagine him saying, well, we should try to accommodate ourselves to the wishes of the president, show goodwill. And so we went down the list, and this is what he thought. Well, all right, Canadian, it's not British, but it's, you know, as close as he can get. And he's an Anglophile Canadian, and he's an ex-Rhodes Scholar, and he's as good as we're going to get. And so that is what set the whole thing in motion. Once in Dar es Salaam, I think the most outstanding memory I have of the various aspects of the job was the ease with which we were able to recruit excellent staff for our first people. I mean, it's quite, when it thinks back now, I think it's fair to say it really is quite astonishing, because we, within a matter of years, the first people that we appointed in Dar es Salaam in the various departments quickly became very prominent in the international academic community. And our first professorial appointments went on then to be, this is, I think back, some of them, let's see, 2 professors of law at the University of London, a professor of economics and head of the development studies program at the University of Copenhagen, the professor of Swahili at Coastal University in Britain, whose name for the moment I've forgotten, and then this is longer than that, and I could go on. I know the reason, I know clearly in my mind the reason why we had such success in this recruitment. And it was the reputation for integrity and committed leadership of Julius Nyerere and his team in Dar es Salaam. That was what these men and women, and several were women, that's what they wanted. They wanted the experience of working in a country under Nyerere's leadership marked by his integrity. And the job, the attraction, it's worth noting, this was before the days of Dantonian socialism, the commitment to socialism, the engagement in articulating the debate on possible several directions it might take came later. The first attraction was an opportunity to work to build a curriculum in a new African university that fitted the country's needs. And that was quite a challenge and quite a it was quite a surprise in many ways for the students, because it really wasn't what they expected. They had done the school certificate, the totally British school certificate, and had done all the training necessary and very